It's initializing. You're on the screen's coming up.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's good. And I've got it on the screenshot first.
Mm-hmm.
So people can hear us talking, but they can just see the screen. We'll be live in just a few seconds.
Okay.
Hi everybody, welcome to the first live stream weekday live show with Homeowners for Justice. I'm CJ Holmes, an independent real estate broker and founder of Homeowners for Justice, because I've been outraged at what has been happening to our property, both the drop in value and the actual theft of the homes by the banks. And the reason I say that is because they have cheated homeowners across the country by stealing their homes. Forged paperwork, made up reason. They exploded the prices in the first place. They ballooned prices with fraudulent loans, suckered buyers into taking these loans. Then when home prices wouldn't help a refinance, they didn't increase high enough, then of course they foreclosed. And instead of modifying loans, they've just been taking the homes back and foreclosing, pushing prices down, pushing people out. They've got millions of vacant foreclosures. And I know you'll be hearing more about this as we talk on the show. Today, I've invited Linda Zimmerman, a Florida forensic researcher analyst. She's an expert witness. She knows a whole lot about this and a true advocate for stopping this massive theft of homes by the banks. In fact, in 2010, here's the article that was written in the Florida Herald Tribune about her. Losing your home? Try calling Linda. So Linda, welcome to the show. You're on speakerphone today as we're all still trying to figure out video Skype. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And so the way we met, do you remember how we met?
Someone had referred me to the conferencing that you were going to have with the Register of Deeds, Mr. O'Brien.
Ah, right.
And after you sent out a notification to everyone who had listened in, and I responded, and we began talking.
Yes, and talking and talking and talking. Like, now we're talking because Linda is just a wealth of information. So, Linda, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this?
Okay. Several years ago, as the article brings out that you're down on the screen right now, we found out quite by mistake that someone had filed a quit claim on properties in Miami, in my father's name. And he had no knowledge about this, and it was leading to foreclosure, so it was obviously, someone had forged signatures, which was an issue, and then secondly, the foreclosure. And when I went to the police department and the attorney general, they said, you're only one person out of many, we're not going to do anything. So I said, you need more people, I'll find more people. And that began my research my research career. At that time, we were dealing with the straw buyer issues here in Florida, where the scammers were getting people with good credit and having them purchase multiple properties because it was doable under the mortgage fraud at that time. But it gradually evolved into foreclosure, and that's where I am today.
Thanks, Linda. It's truly a battle, and it's long term. How long have you been fighting and involved in this effort?
2007. Since 2007.
Oh, geez. Well, and see, from my perspective as a broker, I'm an independent real estate broker in California, and in 2007, I could feel our home prices slide, if you will. I could tell that they weren't going to continue to go up. And it was worrisome because, it brings questions to mind about how much our price is going to fall and how long is it going to be. But I was unaware that we were going to have this foreclosure crisis. I think this caught most of the people by surprise. And in 2008, because I did count the foreclosures. I've gone back, of course, and done the numbers. And in 2007, there was 1,695 foreclosures in the 9 Bay Area counties. It's San Francisco Bay Area. There's 9 counties that we call the Bay Area counties. And in 2008, instead of, just under 1,700, there were over 23,000 foreclosures. This cannot be due to deadbeat homeowners. So anyone that buys into that myth, it's just deadbeat homeowners, which a lot of the media say, and I hear this on the street. I mean, I talk to people about this, when I go in the store and stuff. And a lot of people are just saying, it's those stupid owners, they never should have borrowed. No, it's not that. And that's the truth, and somewhat of a scary truth. Because again, I've felt that if people really understood the truth, they'd be really mad like me. And the positive part is we'd probably get some justice and some restitution. But as long as people are sucked into the misinformation and don't understand what's going on, they're going to side with the banks and the government and the media. And that's the danger, because as they side with those entities and don't understand the truth of what's really happening, then they're just setting up the rest of this country to fall into the same trap. Don't you think?
Oh, yes. Without going into too much discussion on securitization, in one of the searches that I did, I found a pooling and servicing agreement that actually named the date when they expected the first wave of foreclosures to occur. They knew at the time that they were setting these up that there would be foreclosures. And also in some of the subordinate documents they have with the PSA, other agreements, they've even named some of the foreclosure mills that are in existence today. So they did know that this was happening. This was part of what was supposed to happen.
Oh my goodness. Oh, can you try to find that document?
Yes, it was a Citibank, and I shared it with an attorney at that time who had posted it on his website. I don't think people realized the importance of what we found. But it is,
okay.
I can get that for you. That was on my first note for today.
Oh my goodness. And truly, please send me that link or document. If you send me the document, I'll upload it to the website and link it. If you send me the link, I'll link it to the website. And I'm also going to link it to this live stream show so that anyone can actually, while you're live streaming, you can go down and see the other posts and you can link into that. This is, what date was that? What day? Do you remember what year?
Oh, that was probably about time I was dealing with maybe a 2005, 2006.
Oh my goodness. So it just supports what I have been saying, and I have found in other commentary and articles where they refer to the powers that be. Typically this is Fannie and Freddie in the government level agencies talking about the foreclosure crisis that's coming. And this was in the 90s, the 1990s. And of course, you and I never heard about it. We're just, the 99% sitting on the street trying to make a living. But the people, the manipulators behind the scene were already talking about this. And I think this needs to come out. This is why I've started the live stream show. And this is why I'm inviting people that really know what's been going on and can give us specifics and facts, because I tell you, we need to get 1 million homeowners riled up. If we can do that, then Congress will listen. What can I say? We will have the clout and the power that we need. But that's what it's going to take. Don't you think so, Linda?
Yes, I do. Let me give you 2 examples that we can refer to, and it's traceable in the news if you want me to get these articles. Citibank, the one whose PSA I found, they themselves purchased several buildings in California, and when they defaulted on it, they brought it to a position that the lender would have to give them a deed in lieu. Now, nobody went around calling Citibank a loser, or that they were just deadbeat. And also, the president of the mortgage association I think coined the phrase that we're deadbeat homeowners. It's interesting, they had purchased
Yes, I saw that early on. They actually were one of the first to walk away and say, "Okay, fine, you take it." And this is just such an outrage to me that this is the leadership in the country. Now, getting into the independent foreclosure review, I know that we've had a lot of conversations late last year, November, December timeframe, about the IFR, Independent Foreclosure Review, because this is a program set up by the OCC and the banks, and Linda's going to go into more detail about that because she's helped a lot of owners do research that would be required to actually submit knowledgeable requests. So Linda, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the program was supposed to work and then what's actually happened about it?
Right. I was watching it from the beginning when the OCC issued consent orders. That's a legal document against certain servicers that had displayed bad conduct and were not servicing the people as they were supposed to. Well, in following that, when you looked at it originally, it didn't give us the provision that if you applied to have your particular loan reviewed, that you would be exempt, you could not lose your right to sue that servicer. So that was kind of a no-no for all of us, because we've seen what happened with Bank of America when they had to reimburse homeowners. There's a one-liner sentence in there that, well, you give up your right to ever sue them in the future. And for a measly $3,000, what was that? Yeah, that was nothing.
Right.
We thought for a long time, and Eve Smith and various commentators all felt that, this was just a hoax. It was just something to make it look like they were doing something. And then about 3 months ago, I was contacted by someone who had actually received a check. And it turns out this gentleman in Orlando was in active military duty, so he got the $125,000, and he got some more things. I think his debt was canceled due to the fraudulent robo-signers and so forth. So I thought there might be some clout to this. And then in reviewing their report done in June of last year, they started to specify that you just didn't send back, yes, I want a review, because if that went going to the reviewers and you didn't state what you thought the claims were, the reviewers were not instructed how to go to our county records and see what the documents were. There was no comparison work or anything like this done. So we became aware that the homeowner had to know all the violations, all the robo-signers, know if the protocol was correct, if there was the one who was doing the foreclosure had any right, a whole gamut of issues that if you brought them up, then you had some rights. So we, as CJ said, we embarked on a program of trying to help the homeowners to get this foothold in the door and to be able to file a claim. And that's where we were until the evening of December 31st.
Right. And then, of course, now, at the beginning of the year, and by the way, for viewers on live stream, I've pulled up my website, hofj.org, and put the foreclosure defense page, because that's where we've got the consent judgments. I'm highlighting that right now on the screen, so that if you want to watch the defense, look at any one of the defense judgments, they're right there. GMAC, or now calling themselves Ally Bank, B of A, Chase, Citibank, and Wells Fargo. So those are the consent judgments, and if you'll notice, you actually have signatures on most of them. They actually have PDF'd the executives' signatures, and I've been advocating that people copy that signature and include that in their qualified written request. Nevertheless, back to the topic that we were just talking on, and by the way, we've got some people on hold to call in and talk on the show, but I want to get just a couple more things talked about, and then we'll open up the phones. People are calling in. They're not quite familiar yet with video Skyping, but hopefully that as the show progresses, we'll get more and more people on video so that they can live stream on the show and you can see them as they chat. What I want to mention is that over the one of the first things we were greeted with in the new year was the fact that the OCC and the lawmakers were, the banks, they were conspiring, if you will, to throw away the independent foreclosure review and just do another settlement. So this is part of the problem. The banks have the OCC's ear, and they want to just settle for another few $billions, 3, 5, as the way I say, pick a number, because the bottom line is, it doesn't really matter what the number is. You and I and anyone involved in this issue understand that that money is not going to probably come out of the bank's pockets. It definitely won't come out of the people, the executives' pockets that caused this crisis. And so we know it's going to come from us, if you will. And again, it's always about the settlement. Where is the money actually going to go? Are the people really going to get any money? And even if they did, you just do the math. If they're talking about $5 billion, but you've got 3 million homeowners that were cheated out of their home, it's just a few $1,000s. It's sort of like the Attorney General settlement. It was such an insult for homeowners to get a letter from the settlement. It's $25 billion supposed to be, and then they're getting a letter that actually says, well, your share would be $800. And the fact is, these people lost their homes to fraud and being cheated. Many of them were dual tracked. Their paperwork didn't have any authority to, they were filed by entities that had no authority to file. It's as if I would file a notice of default on your property. I don't have the right to do that. But that's what the banks were doing. They were setting up entities, foreclosure trustees, that had no right to file. They're filing, and in California in particular, the judges are letting them get away with it. How are they doing that in Florida, Linda? What do you say?
Absolutely the same thing. I've been in court rooms that I just have to walk out, because you know what the law says, and you know what the ruling should be by justice. And we even had one of the judges say, this is my court, when confronted with what the law is, this is my court, I will rule the way I want to.
Oh, geez. And so this is the point. The people are not getting justice in the court system. And so what I did, as soon as I heard this article, and I've now got it on the screen, I wrote a petition and saying, stop the OCC's secret bank settlement. And in the petition, I set it up so that every time anybody signs this and clicks to submit it, it will be sent to the president, the OCC, all the members of the House and the Senate in the United States, and also the California Governor, Brown, and the House and the Senate of California. I believe we need as a country to get everybody to understand that we are not happy about this. And as you look at the petition, which by the way I've posted on the live stream site so that you can actually sign it while you're watching, that would be great. The background is the banks have cheated. They cheated the buyers with toxic loans. They've decimated our economy by wiping out millions of jobs, and just think contractors, construction, loan officers, real estate agents, even escrow companies. These are the major real estate providers took the major hit. Anybody involved in real estate has been hurt. The end. And this is the problem with, they've wiped out a whole segment of our economy. That's why we have stubborn unemployment. How do you get contractors to build a house when you're selling the houses for half of what it costs to build? You can't. And that's why we're going to have stubborn unemployment. And these people aren't going to be able to go back to what they were doing until we stop foreclosures and fix the economy. And it will. You stop foreclosures, prices will rise, gradually the economy will heal, jobs will come back. Besides, people will feel so much better when they're not fearful of losing their home to the bank. They'll go out and eat more. So, spending will increase. But nevertheless, they've also cheated the owners by breaking all the loan mod rules the government put in place. Every last one of these rules has been broken. And they've cheated our legal system with illegal foreclosure paperwork. We already know that. Look at the independent audits. Look at what Linda's saying. We already knew they were planning this. This is the point. And now they're trying to escape liability by buying off the OCC. And we have to stop them. We must sign the petition, get as many people possible to sign it, spread it to everyone in your address book, because the fact of the matter is this hurts everyone. Letting the banks cheat and just thumb their nose at our legal system is not good. Allowing them to buy off the judges, to buy off our senators and our representatives, which is what is happening, and they buy them off with campaign funds. This is how we're losing our country. And if the other people that aren't facing a loss of the home right now don't stand up and support those that are facing the loss, you'll be next. Isn't that what you think, Linda?
Yes, it's definitely a trend. And I was just thinking of one defense or one very logical thing. The judges say, the lawmakers all say that the foreclosures have to happen for the economy to stabilize. That's a fallacy. What they're not revealing is that instead of foreclosure, there have been put in place from each and every one of you who has a mortgage. Your mortgage has paid multiple insurances that you weren't told about, so that when you missed your payment, somebody collected. Now, according to deed of trust statements toward our mortgage papers, item number 2, look at line number 2. Any proceeds that come in are supposed to go first toward interest, principal, and then fees. Any proceeds. It doesn't just say your payment. Well, what's happening is this system they have set up outside of the banking system, there's what's called a holding company. This holding company buys these multiple insurances, and when you default, they collect. Now, if the right thing were done, the legally right thing, that insurance would go first towards your interest and principal, and guess what? You would be whole again for at least another 25 years till you get back and get in the thing. And what would happen to our economy? If there'd be no foreclosures happening, it would keep the economy flowing. But the reason why it isn't happening is because money is going into a lot of people's pockets.
Right. And it's going into the wrong people's pockets. Right? Right. All the insurance payoffs are going to somebody else, not the people that deserve it, like the investors, right? And the fact
there is an investor insurance called the NIMS insurance that guarantees they'll get their original investment back. But these insurances if they would keep your mortgage whole and it would be applied toward that, you'd have a steady income stream that would go to the investors. So everybody wins except these greedy people who are taking the big payment, are taking the insurance payment.
Right, which is the banks, basically, or a wholly owned subsidiary.
Basically, yes.
Right. And that is...
bank entities through legal corporations.
That's right. And so what we're trying to do is get the public aware of this fraud that's going on, this cheating, and then how can we fight back? So I'd like to invite one of our callers in here. She emailed me this morning about what she's doing, and I'd like her to share with us. I'm gonna try to pull her in on conference call. So just a minute. Hi, this is CJ. Is this Mary?
Yes.
Mary, why don't you share with us what you've been doing? Because I asked you to come on the show today and share with us something that you just emailed me this morning.
All right, I'm here. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we're fine.
Good. I have met, all right, going back a second here, as a part of the $25 million settlement that ended on the 31st of December, have now doled out monies to the states to fight foreclosure and financial fraud on a state level. In North Carolina, that means $6.3 million is being given to this organization, the Conference of DAs, to investigate and prosecute foreclosure and financial fraud. Now, and I called the girl in on the office and said, what's this all about? Can you give me some details? But she told me a little bit without going into a lot of detail. She was kind of holding back, I could tell. But the point mechanism that we can use, and we had already started doing that here in our area, because I had the guys that I'm working with, I had said, go ahead and file a claim with the Sheriff's Department for fraud, let them start investigating and see where we go with them. So then that story came out last week, and I followed up on that. And then this morning, I met with one of our local fraud investigators, and he was well aware of this new fund, which I thought was great. We've already had to put in the door, so to speak. So I laid out the fraud that I had found, showed him the evidence. He was, taking it all in, I think was also convinced that there was fraud there. And one of the first things he was going to do when I left was to make phone calls to this funding mechanism in our state office and get more details. It was very obvious what the fraud was. We had robo-signers still on this case. I mean, the whole point of the settlement, the $25 million settlement, was to stop the robo-signing.
Right.
It had stopped to a certain degree. They've just found another way to do it.
Exactly. They're always finding another way to cheat. And this is what is so outrageous. And Mary, where are you located? What city and state?
In Lewisburg, North Carolina, which is about 30 miles north of Raleigh, North Carolina, which is our state capital. So I'm concentrating my efforts here on a local level and see where I can go with it. I have met with one of our local reporters. We met with her for a couple hours before Christmas and gave her as much information as we can. She's working on a story, and if we can get her to go ahead and get her story out, we can get the information out to a lot of people to start asking questions.
Exactly.
Because these people are going to the foreclosure hearings. They have no idea what's just been done to them. They think they have no defense. They think they're deadbeat.
Exactly.
Because everybody's told them they are.
Right. They've bought into that. And
they have. And what I'm telling my people, and I've done a couple of PowerPoint presentations to some groups, and I said, okay, guys, it is time to stop being victims and to stand up, because you are not a victim from that point of view. You're a victim of a system of fraud.
That's right. And what's happened when I've done foreclosure town halls, I've just done them in California so far, but this happens every time. When people homeowners come to the town hall and they, like, what's this about? And by the time I'm done, they are as mad as I am. And their first question, as soon as they open their mouth, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, how do I get my house back? They stole my house. I want it back. And you're in North Carolina. Forget about it. Are you familiar with Jeff Thigpen?
I have talked to Jeff.
Okay, he's got a lawsuit going against the banks. Do you know where that's at right now, MERS?
Not in the past couple of months. I know that the other states around the country that are doing the same thing, some of their cases have been accepted. I think the state of Texas, their case has been accepted from their registry. So I know there are some successes. I don't know where Jeff is on his. I have not heard whether or not his case has been accepted or not. I'm thinking it probably will be. I mean, here in North Carolina, we have just gotten into the limelight in that we now have a new Republican House, Senate, and our Supreme Court. So I think from that point of view, we're going to have another conservative voice that will lend some support to what we're trying to do here. So we're just praying that that's going to be the case. And so far,
would it be possible for the other recorders to either join or file the same kind of case? Would that make any sense?
Oh yeah, I know they could file the same kind of case. I don't know that they would join together. They possibly could have one big case against MERS or whoever, but I don't know if they will join together. I have not heard anything about that yet.
Okay. Just wondering, and I know I'm just asking these questions off the top of my head, but this is how we connect. The fact is, do you have any feel for how come North Carolina is so further ahead than a state like California, where we can't even get the recorders, the supervisors, even the state really to agree to protect the owners? How did you guys get this started? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I think we have to give a lot of credit to Jeff Thigpen, because when I lived in Greensboro, I lived there for 27 years. I had a little bit of involvement with Jeff because I'm a realtor just like you, and he's always been a very open person. He's always been very fair
Right, right, right. Can you hold a minute? Let's. When I took your call, I somehow lost Linda. So just a minute. Let me try to get her back on the line.
All right.
Linda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you. I'm getting some feedback that the audio phone on using my phone audio is not working terribly well on live stream. So try to speak up and a little slower, please, and that'll be great. Let me see if I can get Mary back on the line. Just a sec. Okay, that's you, right, Linda? I may lose Mary. We'll see.
I don't think we can handle both at once right now.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just, Mary shared. I wanted to get back to what we can do to fight back. She was sharing from North Carolina that they have everybody's outraged. So they have a real support growing there, both with the House and the Senate, the Supreme Court, the recorders, and so they are probably more likely to get some justice in that state. And we're just wondering how we can get justice in our other states. Any ideas on that?
Yeah, it's just like you were saying, CJ. We've got to educate the masses. We've got to get the word out that there are defenses. And they're very strong. I mean, it's just like the case that I was showing to our detective this morning. The fraud is so evident, so obvious that you can't mistake it. And if we can get people to understand that, if I can get in front of enough people, I can do it. So it's just a matter of getting in front of people. So, we've got several patriot groups in North Carolina that are very active. I'm hoping that through them, I will be able to get in front of a lot more people. And as quickly as I can, because it's happening every day. Our own clerk of court is not being terribly supportive. And so we're going after her.
Right.
We're going to attack it, or at least that's my personal opinion. I'm going to attack it wherever I find it.
Right. Education and petitions. Petitions don't hurt. In fact, one thing that occurred to me this morning. Now you notice on the screen, I've still got the OCC bank settlement petition, the secret petition up there. Please sign that. Let's get that sent, and let's send a message to our officials that we want to stop these bank negotiations with the OCC. But did you read the article that came this morning? Well, actually, it was Sunday, the 6th. It was listed the 6th. Lawmakers seek details on independent foreclosure review deal with the banks. Have you seen that yet yourself, Linda?
No, I heard about it but didn't get a chance to review it.
Well, of course, the article talks about the settlement, what that might look like, and I'm hoping that possibly because we've had people signing the petition and it's going to all of these lawmakers, that maybe they've become aware that there is something going on. Our government is really, really big. We have to understand that not everybody is corrupt. They're just busy and don't necessarily know what's going on. And now I think they're trying to find out what's going on and they're looking for details. I'm thinking we ought to come up with some ways to tell them what these details are. Maybe we need another petition to say, lawmakers listen to Homeowners for Justice or listen to these expert witnesses for details. What do you think?
CJ, if you recall, looking back, the thing that really brought this to the light was Lynn Zamoniak's case, and she detailed naming names, naming people, the documents. I think we have to start putting that together on a county-by-county basis in each state.
How would we collect that information?
It's a humongous job. Well, some states it's filed under MERS. You bring out all the MERS, and instead of putting in a paper copy, doing a database. I know there's several people that I'm working with that have volunteered to start doing that in their local counties.
And how do they collect this information?
Some of it's available online on the property or the land records. Like here in Florida, we can pull up all the assignments by grantor and grantee in each county. And there's where the massive fraud took place.
Right, on the assignments. And
Right.
they were fraudulent. How? Can you explain?
Well, because number one, usually the ones who are requesting it or composing this document, or a law firm, or an entity like LPS, which creates documents for foreclosure, doesn't say about ballot, just creates documents. Or if you see it signed by someone who is assistant secretary, well, we can knock that down because MERS allowed by corporate resolution these people to is a violation of their own guidelines. They have to be an officer of the MERS member, which 99.9% onto that category. So that makes, if they didn't hold that position legally, they can't sign this document. That makes it a voidable instrument.
Right. And, okay. A voidable instrument based on current existing law, but not necessarily in the courts, right?
No, in the courts. Neil Garfield just published something on that using, we had been using the term void instruments, but we use voidable, and if it's voidable, it's automatically considered void by the court unless challenged or proven otherwise.
But how do you get that into court? This has been one of the real problems that I've been hearing from people that are, fighting lawsuits. They can't get an attorney, but they are having attorneys often and paralegals help them prepare. But they're going into court themselves, and they're saying that even though I have all of these forged signatures, robo-signatures, and truly it's forgery. You can go to the Homeowner for Justice website and see, I've got examples there of the forged instruments. But the judges don't allow that to be brought into court. How do they do that?
From the very beginning here in Florida, we're a judicial state, so of course the bank or its servicer comes after and sues the homeowner. So we have a little bit more of a standing. It's already brought into the judicial arena by them. And the way to defend yourself is to ask for discovery of these various issues. And anything that is not brought up in the filed documents, and I think this should go for every state once you get it to the judicial point, is prepare an affidavit stating all of the issues that you have discovered and file that. Now, if you lose in the lower court, that affidavit is your grounds to take it to appeal. And quite honestly, justice as a word does exist in the appellate level.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So there's, if you will, more justice at the appeals level?
Oh yes, because they review case law, they review the standards. I've seen more overturned in the appellate level. But now here has been our problem as homeowners. If the issue wasn't brought up in the lower court in writing, we can appeal that issue in the higher court. So that's one thing. If you have to do an affidavit of everything you think that was wrong, and then when they rule against you and you go to appellate court, you say, but Your Honor, I did bring these issues up and they still ruled against. Now you've got a foothold in the appellate court.
Okay, so this is what you're doing. You're an expert witness, right? And so are you preparing these affidavits?
Yes.
And can you do that for anybody in any state, or is it just state specific?
Yes. In fact, I appeared in San Antonio, Texas as an expert witness against Deutsche Bank and AHMSI.
What does an affidavit like this, something like that, cost? Just a ballpark range?
If the person hasn't had an audit, they would have to have a cursory audit at least to see what the violations are. Because I won't just say, oh yes, there's robo-signing, there's this, that. I'm doing this on penalty of perjury.
Right.
So I have to state the facts as they are. So if you have an audit, I can review the audit. Obviously, that would be less of a charge to do it. Depending on the amount of material that the homeowner had, it could be anywhere from $100 up to with the audit $700-800.
Okay.
Is that your answering machine? Are you there, Linda?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it wasn't mine that I know of.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh, I don't know what that's about. Sorry. Just a sec. Let me see if I can fix something. I'm going to put you on hold. Okay, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm not very good at phones. And we just got to get video Skype working so that people can see people as they chat, our guests and callers in and stuff. And besides, it'll be computer speakers, so it'll be easier to listen to instead of speaker phone. I'll be working on that. Try to get the phone sound better for this live streaming. This is our first show, so thank you for bearing with us. So again, can you just say again about what kind of a charge people could expect to have an affidavit? But they'd have to file a lawsuit, right, for this?
Right, you have to have a lawsuit, which there's a filing fee in California, and in most states there's a filing fee. If you're already in a judicial state, you've got a lawsuit, so you just want to do your answers appropriately. And that would be, the affidavit or declaration stating the violations. And if you don't have an audit already done, that it just has to be looked over. Cost could be as little as $100 if you've got the audit, up to $700 if you don't have it and someone would have to audit it. And then, of course, if you don't know anything about the securitization, I refer to several different people that you can get the identification of the securitized trust. And I have several good auditors that I also recommend people to. They do a very good job.
And so what does an audit cost? What should people expect for that?
If someone is doing a complete audit from beginning to end, usually the highest price range is about $1,700.
And
They're doing without the securitization or without the primary, the res ventilla violations, it could be as inexpensive as $1,000.
And TILA, for those people that are watching and perhaps not familiar with some of these words that we use, it's Truth in Lending Act, TILA. And in the Truth in Lending, there were a whole lot of government requirements that lenders were to follow when they made the loans. And of course, the banks broke every one of them, pretty much. So what Linda's talking about are audits. So if you're looking at audits, and maybe we ought to have a little workshop on what audits are, what a good audit looks like, the kinds of violations that they would uncover, something like that. I think that could be very helpful to owners in particular, because people are desperate. And in fact, I mean, every day now I get emails and calls from people trying to save their home, and it doesn't matter where in the country. It's from Michigan, from Florida, New Jersey, California, Washington, Oregon. So even judicial states or states that have new law against MERS, for example, like Washington and Oregon, people are still contacting me because they either don't know, they don't know the law, they don't know how to access the law, they don't know how to make it work for themselves. So what do you think about maybe offering a workshop like that? We could get that scheduled.
Absolutely, no problem.
Hey, can you have video Skype by then?
You're pushing me.
I'm pushing her. Listen.
I will try.
This technology is so cool, and once you get into it, it's okay to use. And I know that most of the people that I'm talking to, everyone that comes to my teach-ins or my foreclosure town halls, they're typically from 30 to 90. You know, it's homeowners, current homeowners, typically, and so it's not necessarily the new generation that just gloms onto all this new technology. But we need to step up. We need to sacrifice a little bit of time and effort and get into this technology, because this is where the power is at. We can't. This country is too big, and people are too busy. The ones that really it matters to are way too busy to try to get together like at Washington, D.C. Now, at some point, there might be, a million homeowner march, but at this point, we can collect online. We can follow the activity and for example, this live stream show. We can sign petitions. We can do these things as a group from our armchairs. And I think we need to really step up and do that. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so you heard it. You heard it here first. Linda's going to commit to doing a workshop. Maybe next week, Linda? What does your time frame look like next week? Would that work?
If I would, next week would be good because after that I have some committed.
Okay. All right. So Linda and I are going to work on that. I will set it up on the workshop event on live stream. So, and then, I'll send out an email and also tweet it out so that if you're following us either of those ways, you'll get it. I highly recommend if you're following the show or looking at the show that you log into live stream and you follow us on live stream, because that will give you an instant notice. Hey, we're starting. Do you want to watch? And even if you can't watch, you can always watch archived if you can't watch live. So I recommend that you do that. You don't miss a beat. And by the way, before I forget, there might be a live street action this afternoon. Just this morning came in some information about an NBC News crew interviewing one of the Occupy people here in Sonoma County. So if that happens, trust me, I'm going to blast it out, tweet it out, and live stream it from the street. And that will be the first time I'll use my new smartphone to live stream live. I hope it works. It's supposed to work. It's, I got a wireless connection, so we'll see how that happens. Anyway, so the facts of the matter are these. The independent foreclosure review was actually probably just completely a sham to begin with, right? Did you see the article, Linda, about how the OCC foreclosure review process was controlled by the banks and how they, whenever they found problems in the foreclosure, then they rewrote the rules so that those problems didn't count? Did you see that article?
Not only that, I mean, there was an article that brought up that the people who are doing the review are getting an average $250 an hour. We're in the wrong business, TJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyhow, and if you looked in the beginning at who were these independent reviewers, these were companies already being used by the banks to do the review of their documents for the SEC. So how independent and how impartial can they be?
Okay, so they weren't. And so,
no, they weren't.
Yeah. So in other words, this was just another insider way to get money for entities that were already on the inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And $250 an hour. I wish I was paid $250 an hour.
Viewer, the person who opened your letter and that you wanted to review or pulled it off of online, that person got $250 an hour. And when you read their qualifications, they didn't live up to the qualifications. So how could they review it?
Oh my goodness. And you know what, and I know that you've been helping people for free. I've been helping people for free. And people will say, help. And so what I've been doing is, getting some of their recorded documents. And then just starting in October, November, I developed a little spreadsheet. All of this stuff is discussed in my foreclosure defense page on my website, where I have actual samples of the spreadsheet and a downloadable method that people could use. It's right down there with number 5. Use the editable spreadsheet, and you fill in the data. It's just really simple. It takes, less than a half an hour. And once I get the documents, open up the spreadsheet, put in the name of the, just fill in the answers, the type of document, who is the lender, who is the trustee, what is the recorded date, who signed it, and when did they sign it. I mean, it's pretty simple, straightforward stuff, especially once you get used to looking at the recorded documents, where to find the information that it's asking for. And literally 8 out of 9, a high percentage of these have significant problems. Either they're a known robo-signer, or a robo-signer that I've got multiple different signatures for. So even if it's not on a list, I've got them because I have so many documents. You just match them up. The same names are signing with different signatures. And then you see what I call the broken chain of authority. And that means they filed the notice of default in May. But the entity that filed the notice of default didn't have authority to do so, wasn't given that authority by the person that was supposed to give it the authority until 3 months later. Is that what you're finding too?
Oh, all the time. I mean, there was one early on, I believe it was an Oregon case, where I was tracing the signature, and they were granted power of authority by someone, a predecessor. So I looked at that one, and they were granted power of authority by someone who at that point didn't have the authority to grant any powers of attorney. So, when you trace it back, it's ridiculous. It's so sloppy. And when we track the robo-signers, they just change it. That's all. They change the person signing it.
To a new robo-signer, right?
Yes.
See, this is the issue. Linda was talking to me about this, and she's just brought it up again, and that is my explanation. The reason the government calls it robo-signing is because the banks forged documents to give these people that signed other people's names the authority to do so. But that document giving those people the authority was a forgery, right? And so,
and then never attached to the document they're signing.
Right. And so even if those people that gave, quote, the authority to the robo-signers on the actual assignments, the entity that gave that person the authority to give the robo-signers authority didn't have the authority either. In other words,
correct.
The forgery goes back however many levels it goes back, but it's all forgery.
Yes.
And that's because of the pooling and servicing agreements, right?
Right. Well, the actual truth is that when you signed your loan and you closed on it, and it went then into a trust, probably within days, if not within months, all these documents, the assignments, because there were 3 sales that took place, there were 3 assignments, were supposed to accompany your original mortgage and note and appraisal and insurances into a custodial loan. So now if they want to foreclose on you, in truth, there's a form they have to fill out requesting the original documents which have been executed back when you got your mortgage, not 5 days before they filed a foreclosure against you.
Right. So in other
And
words,
those documents would have been the real president of the bank, the real vice president, not someone made up or supposedly given authority.
right. Right. And see, with the securitization of the loans, once the loans went into that investment security, then that loan couldn't be transferred, correct?
Correct.
And so what they've done in the assignments is transfer the ownership of the loan years after the security was sold.
And the important issue about that is when they securitize, when they sell it to the stock market, okay? Now banking rules don't apply. Stock market rules apply. The reason they put it to the stock market is they have a special way of trust that is tax-free, either REMICs or REITs.
Right.
And one of the IRS's provision is that if something comes in after 90 days from the closing on that trust, when that trust is formed, they accept it, the trust accepts it, they break their non-taxable status. So we have so many ways, but these are issues we've got to get to someone, first of all, step by step. There's a lot of good issues, but that's an important one. So again, it's illegal what they're doing from another standpoint.
From every standpoint, basically is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yes. And it's just a matter of getting this as proof. So here's where the rubber meets the road. And this is why so many people are calling and fighting, and others like Occupy Bernal are doing what I call armchair activism. They've discovered, and they have several people, but even 20 people, if each person is willing to call the same number 20 times, you can just inundate, which is what they're doing. They're inundating the CEOs of the bank that's got a foreclosure on somebody's house and getting them to postpone the auction. Now, that is a tremendous amount of man hours, and it helps that person, but we've got millions of homeowners in the country facing foreclosure. And so maybe what I'd like to do, we're getting down to near the end of the show this morning, but I think, Linda, I'd like to have us continue this discussion tomorrow, and what I'd like to focus on is what people can do right now to save their home. Because generally, by the time they find me or email me, the auction is like next week or tomorrow or some time immediately. They're desperate. And I think it would be really helpful if you had some ideas that we could share with people. And of course, everything we're doing is archived, so the show could be emailed out, sent to everybody, anyone that's watching, to anyone else that you think might want to hear what we're saying, to help people fight back and keep their home. And also, I'd like to mention that while we think about what we're going to say tomorrow and the kinds of ideas and suggestions you can bring and we can discuss, there's many people that have already been foreclosed. They're fighting UDs, unlawful detainers, and they want to know, what can I do now? The sheriff is going to come and evict me, but I really want to keep the house, and all my documents are forged and fraudulent, and now I'm broke. So let's also think in terms of the kinds of things that aren't expensive. Like, is there something the person can do themselves, or with some inexpensive guidance? Those kinds of things. I'm sure you have people contact you yourself, right, Linda, about this stuff?
Oh, yes. Just dealt with an unlawful detainer in Hawaii, and the woman had all her goods in the house, her car, everything, and they came in, took the lock, changed the locks, and she just finally went to the police department because she had a lawsuit against the company, and they were just disregarding that they should have waited until the outcome of that lawsuit to take any action. They didn't care.
Now, how can that happen? How can that be that in the middle of a lawsuit, people can just still have their home taken, even before a judgment has been issued?
Lack of education, and somebody does what they're told to do.
Somebody being whom? The sheriff?
In that case, it was the realtors that were doing the REOs. They were directed by Condor Capital Corporation which is a vulture. It lives up to its name. They buy distressed properties before they've even gone in, before there's been any foreclosure actions. They're aware of it from the day you miss day 31. They know, and they buy for pennies on the dollar, and of course they turn around and make money on the hedge fund side. And I personally, on this one, I talked to the attorney for the other side. I talked to various people at Condor. I talked to the realtors, and the woman literally, she had to step in and change the locks and get her property out and then leave. And the next day, they had changed the locks again.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, all the neighbors were on her side because they felt they were just next in line. But you have to realize the immensity of this. It's sickening.
So basically what I hear, if I'm hearing correctly, to summarize, the real estate agent hired by the bank to list the property is participating in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably unwittingly. They're just doing what they're told. They're just minions.
Yeah, but they've got to know what they're doing. They've got to know, at least have a glimpse. You can't do this so many times and when people are contesting and screaming and yelling and not know, hey, there's something wrong here.
Right. They do it for the money to make a
living. Like we were discussing, it comes down to making these people, from the smallest to the greatest, criminally responsible.
Okay, so what I heard you just say is that we would include them in a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, it's 11. We're going to have to call it short. But before we go, for those people that are watching on live stream, take a look. Here's an article just today, or yesterday again on the 6th. Pamplona's locksmiths join revolt. They've stopped. They're refusing to change the locks. We heard you talk about that. So with that note, let's get our locksmiths to stop changing locks in this country. Thanks, Linda, for sharing. I look forward to talking with you more tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. We're not going to sign off now. This is CJ Holmes, founder of Homeowners for Justice, live streaming to the world to let's stop this crisis. Please sign the OCC petition to stop them from secretly negotiating with the banks for a settlement. Thank you. We appreciate you joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow.